Well, hi again. Now we're going to focus on chapter 2, the literature review. That is also maybe you're already working on that, or maybe you already have a first draft. So remember that it's very important that you have at least two big sections at least, where in the first one you discuss the method of the literature review. So the method of the literature review is about how you found the articles, and we have discussed that. We have a lecture on this. So try to be as transparent as possible and also justify all of your choices, like tell me which keywords you use, which search engine, all of these things. Beyond that formal search, how did you get articles? I gave you, I think, 5 at least for each group. You received 5 in the workshop 1. You get a list of literature that could be relevant. So discuss that in this chapter. From the example, let's take a look at what they have. I think they also did a good job. My complaint from this assignment is that they didn't include like references to justify their choices. For example, they didn't explain why Google Scholar is considered to be a good choice or the Scopus Index to be a good quality test. So here in the group assignment page, you have list of references. So if you click in here, you will find an document where you have many references that are useful for this. So for example, you can say that you can cite maybe these papers regarding why is it good to follow a systematic approach when doing the literature review. Like, I mean, I think they mentioned that, but they didn't justify. So maybe you can justify using that reference. So again, minor things that they lacked in many other things are actually very good, but I am highlighting the things that could get better. And then it comes to the next big section, the literature review. And the literature review is tricky because it depends a lot on how you created the problem that it will guide you on the structure of the literature review. It's quite difficult even when you write your dissertation. You usually change it after you do the first draft, and your supervisor influences a lot how you will make it work. But in general, I think I mentioned it in a lecture. I think for this assignment, one possibility, and it's only a suggestion, you can do other things, is that maybe in the main literature review, you have one subsection, so it will be like 2.2.1, where you first discuss maybe the global mindset, because all of you, your dependent variable is global mindset. So maybe you discuss that global mindset in I don't know, 2 paragraphs, 2 or 3 references regarding global mindset. Why is it? What is that? How is it different to other things? Why is it relevant for students? Discuss the global mindset first. Then the next subsection will be on your independent variable. So maybe it's materialism. So again, maybe discuss 2 or 3 references about materialism. What is materialism? Why is it relevant for Swedish students? Why do we care about materialism, only materialism? And then in 2.2.3, then you try to mix them. So maybe now is about the relationship between these two. If you couldn't find a specific paper that discusses these two, I think that's the case of materialism and global mindset. There is not one paper that discusses them. You need to build the argument. So for example, you need to build the argument of materialism discussing something about international aspects, like maybe materialism tends to be more towards local aspects, or it tends to be more oriented to physical consumption, which each is in line with a local perspective. So it contradicts the idea of a global mindset. That could be tricky because you have to build the argument in this connection. So I'm going to summarize 2.2.1, global mindset, 2.2.2, your independent variable, 2.2.3, the connection between the two. And then you can state a hypothesis, 2.3, where you can just kind of summarize what you wrote before, especially in the connection, very briefly, and state your hypothesis. I put it in an extra subsection or extra section because it's very important. The hypothesis is very important. There is that lecture from workshop 3. There is this short pre-recorded lecture on one part of it is about setting the hypothesis. So if you are unsure about the hypothesis, take a look at that lecture. So state your hypothesis in here. I put it an extra section because it's very important. And also, I think maybe discuss also this with Victoria, but I think it could be nice if you include another section 2.4 where you discuss, because remember, this works very well, this that I just told you, works very well for the quantitative part. But what about the qualitative part of the study? So maybe in 2.4, you can discuss other aspects that are relevant in that relationship, because that's the idea of the qualitative part, not only to test the relationship, but to explain more like what is inside of that or what is around that. So maybe discuss that, like what is in there that is outside of that. Maybe bring articles that discuss like maybe gender could be relevant, maybe culture could be relevant, all of these maybes from other articles and put them in there in this 2.4. And to finish, to make it super nice, also discuss with Victoria, maybe you can draw what how it looks like you have the uh, materialism and the global mindset, and there is a relationship between this. But can you maybe include or connect something in there, like another factor or another concept that you can connect around, like maybe culture will be in there? Think if you can do it like that, if you can draw it. But I think this 2.5, 2.4 suggestion, like after the hypothesis, I think something you could discuss with Victoria. But that's pretty much everything. If we take a look at how they did the literature review, I think they follow that idea. Like they discussed different articles and then in the end they discussed the relationship. And then they actually did it like this. They mapped or draw how it would like with different aspects. So they have sustainable consumer behavior, and I think they have biospheric values in here, but so then they explain like there is something in between and something connected to that. So it's a very complex, interesting map that they prepared. And finally, they also set their hypothesis, which is in here, I think. Uh, yeah, I think it's in here. So do it like that. I think it's also good what they have done. And be aware of also of what I mentioned on the issues from the previous good example. But literature review is tricky. Everyone will have a like their own way of presenting it. But again, also in the tutoring session, we can discuss it more.